The moment Jonathan Sterling decided to make my life a public spectacle. The moment his voice cut through the silence of Regal Motors like shattered glass. That's when I knew everything was about to change. The man's $350 Ferrari was sitting there, hood up in surrender, broken, and he was using that failure to humiliate me. Darius Mitchell, the only black man in the room who wasn't serving champagne, but was holding a rag and a bottle of polish. The Ferrari's yours if you can fix it, but we both know you can't. Sterling scoffed, his voice dripping with that particular brand of Beverly Hills superiority. 50 of his VIP clients were watching, and he was playing to the audience, turning cruelty into entertainment. He pointed at my cleaning supplies, my toolkit, my sanctuary. You think a spray bottle qualifies you for Italian engineering? I just kept my hands steady on the cloth, my dark eyes calm, which, I promise you, was the hardest performance of my life. I knew if I flinched, if I showed anger, he would win. He stepped closer, his expensive cologne mixing with the scent of high-grade polish. What's the matter, Darius? Finally realizing you're out of your league? I mean, there's a reason some people clean toilets and others run companies. Natural order, you know. The crowd gasped, it was too much. Even for them, but Sterling fed off the discomfort. He didn't know that my quiet composure wasn't submission, it was preparation. And he had no idea that his broken Ferrari wasn't just a challenge, it was the mechanism that would absolutely shatter his empire built on arrogance and prejudice. See, for 6 months, this was my routine. Every time a big buyer, the truly important clients, came in, Sterling would find some excuse to make me re-clean a spotless car. Standards matter here, he'd announce, ensuring everyone heard. Some people need extra supervision to meet our clientele's expectations. He forced me to use the service entrance while the white contractors waltzed through the front. He made me wear a name tag that read, Darius, Detailing. While the mechanics got no labels at all. Wouldn't want any confusion about expertise levels. He'd smirk. The worst was the Lamborghini Huracan unveiling. I happened to pronounce the car's name correctly, just reflex. I love these machines, and Sterling stopped the whole presentation to publicly correct me with this ridiculously exaggerated Italian accent. It's not, Hurricane Boy. Darius, he declared. This is precision Italian engineering worth $300. Try to show some respect for what you're touching. I felt the burning humiliation. But I held my peace. I was invisible furniture. And that invisibility, ironically, was my biggest advantage. But the Ferrari 488 GTB. That was Sterling's personal, very public nightmare. For 3 weeks, this $350 machine would run perfectly. Then suddenly die at a red light. During acceleration. Or worst of all, in front of a potential buyer. There was no pattern, no warning, just expensive, embarrassing failure. He'd thrown money at it like a desperate gambler. 5 certified, expensive specialists had failed, one after another. First, Yeppa Martinelli, Ferrari's certified guy from LA. He replaced the AQ, $2,200 gone. The car stalled. Second, Marco Rossini, the Beverly Hills specialist. He replaced the fuel pumps and injectors. $1,800 gone. It stalled 2 days later. Third, a racing mechanic. He diagnosed a timing chain stretch. $1,500 gone. It stalled 3 times in one afternoon. Fourth, a diagnostic specialist with a van full of proprietary Italian computers. 12 hours of testing. $1,200 gone. According to every parameter, this car should run flawlessly. He reported, genuinely puzzled. Fifth, the Hollywood import specialist. 3 days replacing sensors and software. $1,300 gone. He finally gave up, saying, this problem is beyond my expertise. $8 in failed repairs. And Sterling's reputation as a car expert, which was half his identity, was bleeding out onto the pristine showroom floor. The damage was more than financial. Victoria Carter, a collector worth $200 million and the owner of 12 Ferraris and 8 Lamborghinis, was watching the fiasco. She told Sterling flat out, Jonathan, I'm becoming concerned about your technical capabilities. This Ferrari situation is quite troubling for someone in your position. Losing her business, her $2 to $3 million order, would be catastrophic. Today's VIP showcase was Sterling's Hail Mary pass. But the Ferrari stalled twice during his opening speech. The sound of 50 phones capturing his humiliation filled the marble showroom. That's when his desperation turned into pure, malicious rage, and he set his trap. He needed a scapegoat, a public failure to distract from his own incompetence. And I was the perfect target. What Sterling didn't know was that I had identified the pattern 3 weeks ago. My cleaning supplies weren't just chemicals, they were camouflage for a professional infrared thermometer, a digital stethoscope, and acoustic analysis equipment, tools that cost me 3 months' salary. But were worth it for my passion. The stalling wasn't random, it was a precise systemic failure. Specific engine temperature thresholds combined with particular RPM ranges creating a harmonic resonance that triggered failure in a small, hidden aluminum bracket near the intake manifold. I knew exactly what was broken and how to fix it. I had submitted a detailed report, complete with thermal analysis data and frequency measurements. It was sitting right there in his spam folder, filtered because it came from the detail guy trying to play mechanic. In Sterling's world, knowledge requires a prestigious degree and a certain skin color. The idea that a black man in work clothes could solve a problem that stumped certified Ferrari specialists simply didn't compute. But for me, this was more than just a car. My life began on the floor of my grandmother Rose's tiny apartment in Oakland. My parents died in a car crash, brake failure on their old Civic. Rosa worked 2 minimum wage cleaning jobs to raise me. Baby, she would tell me during those hard years. The machine will tell you what's wrong if you know how to listen. Don't let fancy equipment make you deaf to what your senses can teach you. The truth is always there. When I was 14, Rose's old Honda started making a noise, a subtle worrying sound. 3 certified mechanics said it needed a $1.200 transmission rebuild. For 2 weeks, I lay under that car, listening, not to what the mechanic said, but to what the car itself was telling me. It wasn't the transmission, it was a loose heat shield vibrating against the exhaust manifold, creating a harmonic resonance that mimicked transmission failure. A $20 part, 30 minutes of work. How did you know that? Rosa asked. It told me. I said simply. I just listened. That moment was my true education. Machines don't lie. People make assumptions. By 18, I had a diagnostic ability that bordered on the supernatural. I could hear the subtle timing variations, the irregular combustion patterns, the microscopic mechanical wear that computerized systems missed. But when Rosa passed, the college scholarships evaporated. I lacked the formal credentials, and my dreams of engineering school collapsed into the harsh reality of survival. I was a talented amateur. Detailing was stable work, a chance to be around the sophisticated vehicles I loved, even if I was treated like invisible furniture. For 5 years, I'd been building my silent, comprehensive database of mechanical patterns right here at Regal Motors. Now, standing in the marble showroom, Sterling's contempt was my final test. Rose's words were my armor. They can't take what's in your hands and your head. $50. Sterling announced. So, the crowd, 50 of the wealthiest, most influential people in Beverly Hills, was staring at me. Darius Mitchell, the detail guy, while a world-renowned UCLA professor validated my diagnosis right in front of the CEO who hated me. Sterling's face was pure panic. He had nowhere to run. And the cameras were rolling. Anyone can throw around technical terms. Doctor, Sterling stammered, clinging to his last shred of arrogance. Let's see if he can actually do something useful. Gladly, Dr. Santos replied. But first, let me make the stakes clear. She addressed the audience directly. If Mr. Mitchell fixes this Ferrari using the methods I just heard him describe, it will prove that mechanical genius exists independently of formal credentials or racial assumptions. Then, Victoria Carter stepped forward, her phone recording, her eyes bright with the thrill of a monumental business decision. I'll double the stakes, she announced. If this young man fixes Jonathan's Ferrari, I'll offer him the head diagnostic position for my collection at $200 annually. The room erupted. $200,000 a year for a kid who made $15 an hour washing cars. Sterling was trapped, not by me, but by the weight of witnesses and his own malicious public challenge. Fine, he managed. his voice tight. Let's see what happens when theory meets reality. I walked toward the Ferrari. I didn't rush. I didn't grab a computer. I began with systematic sensory evaluation, moving my hands with the practiced precision of a craftsman. The crowd formed a tight, silent circle around me. There's something most people don't understand about machines, I said softly, my eyes fixed on the engine. They're always talking. Even when they're off, they're telling you stories about stress, wear, temperature, history. The first revelation: acoustic detective. I pulled out my professional stethoscope, not standard cleaning equipment, but a precision diagnostic tool, and systematically checked the engine components. Here, I announced, reaching the suspect spot near the intake manifold. 847 Hz primary resonance with a 1240 harmonic overlay. That's the signature of aluminum component vibration under thermal stress. Dr. Santos verified my reading with her own app, showing the audience the graph. Mr. Mitchell's acoustic analysis is precise to within 0.3 Hz. She told the astonished crowd. Most certified mechanics never develop this skill. The second revelation: thermal detective. I pulled out my infrared thermometer, mapping the engine's heat distribution. Standard diagnostics check computer data, I explained, but they miss thermal signatures that reveal mechanical stress patterns. I pointed out a spot 23 degrees hotter than the baseline and another 18 degrees cooler. This problem only manifests when the engine reaches specific operating temperatures combined with particular RPM ranges. The loose bracket creates vibration that triggers cascade failures in 3 separate interconnected systems. I showed them how the faulty bracket corrupted the oxygen sensors, which confused the AQ. The $8 in failed repairs had been valid responses to symptoms, but the root cause, the vibrating bracket, was never addressed. The fix: precision engineering. I took the replacement bracket. Previous mechanics either overtorqued or undertorqued the replacement. I explained, the new one must be installed while the engine operates at exactly 73 degrees Celsius, not 72. Not 74. I monitored the temperature patiently. When the moment was right, I tightened the 4 mounting bolts to 22 feet lb in a precise diagonal pattern. This wasn't repair, it was re-engineering. When I finished, I started the engine and systematically recreated every driving condition that had previously caused problems. Max A, C high RPM throttle combinations. Long idle periods. The Ferrari purred flawlessly. The acoustic signature was fundamentally changed. The harmful harmonics were gone. Dr. Santos recorded the new profile. Perfect harmonic alignment achieved, she announced. This car now performs exactly as designed. Sterling stood frozen, watching his world crumble. 3 weeks of humiliation, $8 wasted, and his reputation, all solved in 90 minutes by the man he had publicly mocked. But desperation makes people dangerous. Fine, Sterling managed, his voice tight with panic. Let's see how your little repair holds up under real driving conditions. I'll drive with you. 45 minutes of the most demanding conditions Beverly Hills can offer. I accept your test, I said, meeting his gaze. The crowd followed us outside. I slid behind the wheel of the Ferrari. Sterling reluctantly took the passenger seat. Dr. Santos and Victoria Carter followed, live streaming the entire mobile stress test. For 45 minutes, I subjected the car to every possible condition: gridlock, 95-degree heat, steep hill climbs on Mulholland Drive, aggressive acceleration onto the 405. The Ferrari responded flawlessly. Sterling grew quieter with each successful test, his confident predictions of failure transforming into uncomfortable silence. Back at Regal Motors, the crowd had swelled. Dr. Santos connected her diagnostic equipment. The results appeared on her tablet for everyone to see. Horsepower output 8% above factory specifications, she announced, filled with professional amazement. Emissions 12% cleaner than EPA requirements. Vibration levels reduced to tolerances that typically require $50 in additional engineering refinement. This car now performs better than when Ferrari's factory engineers originally built it, she concluded. Sterling's racist assumptions had been systematically demolished by technical excellence he couldn't dispute. Victoria Carter stepped forward. Mr. Mitchell hasn't just fixed an impossible problem. He's optimized a machine beyond its original design parameters. Sterling was forced to surrender. The car is yours, he whispered, handing over the keys and writing the $50 check with a trembling hand. Then, prompted by Dr. Santos, he delivered the apology that cost him his dignity. I apologize for underestimating Mr. Mitchell's abilities. Before I could even process owning a Ferrari, the opportunities exploded. Victoria Carter offered the $750 per hour consultant position. UCLA wanted a partnership. Ferrari dealerships offered head diagnostic positions at $150 annually. In 4 hours, I had transformed from a $15 an hour detail worker to the most sought-after specialist on the West Coast. With over $400 in immediate opportunities. The story didn't end there, though. Within hours, Jonathan Sterling faced the financial apocalypse. The viral video hit 2.3 million views. Victoria Carter not only canceled her order but told her entire network to boycott Regal Motors. $8.7 million in orders were canceled by Tuesday morning. 7 lawsuits for systematic racism were filed, totaling over $5 million in legal exposure. Sterling lost his Ferrari franchise. His bank called his operating loans due, and his wife filed for divorce. 6 months later, the poetic justice came full circle. Sterling was working at a discount used car lot, earning $40 annually, when his personal BMW developed electrical problems. The only mechanic capable of diagnosing it was my new automotive center. He paid me $1.200 for a repair I solved in 30 minutes, more than I used to earn in a month. Regal Motors was sold to new owners who immediately hired me as their chief diagnostic officer at $180 annually. My case became required study in employment law schools as an example of racism's devastating financial consequences. 2 years later, I drive my Ferrari to the Beverly Hills Automotive Diagnostics Center every morning.